All right, so now to get to the film stuff, right? So Ricardo, if you don't mind, you could talk about season 2 of Star Trek Prodigy.
Sure.
I'll confess, I've never watched that show. I haven't seen it as yet, right? But I found out just the other day that the second season, all the episodes dropped on the same day. I
Right, yeah,
think
we
this
drop all
is
of
like
it.
the first time that's been done since the show got off the ground, right? If I'm not mistaken. Well, I guess you could answer that for me. But yeah, well, you could kick things off. You could just let the listeners know how you felt about the first season, and yeah, how this one played out.
Yeah, so right, I was a big fan of the first season. Loved the show. It was a nice surprise. I remember being somewhat, flippant against it in the sense of being dismissive, as in, oh well, it's Star Trek for kids, and it just roping kids into Star Trek, and you're gonna have some real simple pat stories that kids gonna like. But whatever, I see that in some episode of TNG or whatever it is. And then it ended up not being that. Like, it does take from Star Trek, and it does usual sci-fi goofiness that Star Trek puts out, but it ended up just putting out a really solid character piece and solid plotline in the Trek universe. And I ended up just appreciating it for what it was, and just saying, they do something real, like, really well done here. And then I heard about the cancellation. I was like, oh, that's sad, but at least we're gonna get to see the season 2. Hopefully they could put out something here. And then they put out season 2 all in one. I binged the first 10 episodes, and then I had some business to deal with, and so I took a while to just pick off the rest. And yeah, someone cooked here. This second season is excellent, really, really well
Nice.
done. What are the big takeaway from this? Here's the big takeaway. Two things I was worried about was going to happen, that I was worried about if they do it, they're going to hurt the material. Both things happened, and the show is still good. Right, it's still excellent. That is a testimony on how well done. Right, so I don't want to spoil anything too much, but basically, I didn't want the show to become the Voyager show or Voyager sequel show, and it kind of does.
Okay.
Right, so they focus on some Voyager characters, and instead of me saying, "Oh, you're gonna hamstring the show and pull it down," they end up I'm just gonna say it. They kind of end up doing a better job with a certain character than Voyager itself, right?
Wow, okay.
Slight spoilers. It's Chakotay. So Chakotay is not a spoiler to say that Chakotay in this, right? He was in a lot of the marketing and whatever. And okay, so this is a history, and there's a little Trek history. Most people know, most Trek fans know. So I forget the guy's name exactly, but Jamel Highwater, I think is his name. But Jamel Highwater, I forget what his name exactly is. Or Jabui Highwater, I forget what it was. And this dude was what he was. He was back when Voyager was on air. He was a consultant for the Native American material. Just to say, okay, this Native American stuff is accurate, and we're doing this right by this character. So because Chakotay is the first live action Native American character in Star Trek, if I remember correctly. Right? I think the animated series had a Native American character, but Chakotay is supposed to be the first live action main cast member. Right? So, but then you found out something really unfortunate, that the guy, well, not only that Chakotay was very badly written, the guy was a fraud. Apparently, the guy was like not only was he an expert, he was not only not an expert in Native American studies and history, but he himself wasn't even Native American. He was a white guy. He just changed the name, and everybody fall for the bullshit. And that was like real embarrassing for, I think, not only the show, but I could imagine Robert Beltran himself, right? Like, just being this first time representation for the material, and then having this happen and pull from under. And yeah, he had somebody who was writing. So yeah, they largely fixed that, addressed it. What they do here is better than, I would say, better than almost anything they ever do in Voyager. So that's about that. And then they do something with another character. They bring back another character from an earlier show. I'm not going to spoil it. This is a real big spoiler. And what they do with him is the kind of nitpicky, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey world building that I really hope Trek doesn't like leverage itself into or deal with. But they straight up do that. They straight up just do that to explain what's going on in the storyline. And the story was still good. Like, they still had good stakes, and they still balanced it well with that nitpicky world building nonsense that to me there's only hurt Trek, and I don't really care for it. But it's one of those things that like it's more come across like housekeeping to make it make sense, that kind of bullshit now. But a lot of people actually don't care about that. Like, and I'm in the camp that kind of don't really care about that. I kind of care about that, but if you do it, fine. But you don't need to do it unless you make a good story. And this is one of those cases where if you're going to do it, you have to make a good story, and that's what they did. They made a good story. And this why it works is that they stay to the main cast of characters. They have almost everybody has a great arc in this, right? There's who didn't really have a big arc last season, get a pretty good arc this time, and then the two main characters, they had their own arc, and what they do with it in the ending, really, really good. And then they end it off in a real good space, referencing, again, not a big fan of another show, but they reference this other show, but then they justify the reference and put it in the context of the storytelling. And like, all right, well, now I already want a season 3, the way I set this up. And we're probably not going to get that season 3, unfortunately, but it does ended off good. This is probably going to get one of my highest ratings for the year. I thought this was really fantastic. I strongly recommend it. What they do here. And yeah, they kind of doing better than the live action stuff with the adults. I mean, to be fair, animation is have a little more freedom, right, for the most part. Like, Kate Mulgrew can't be running about the place like how she's been running about the place in the show, right? Because Kate Mulgrew is a very old woman now. Same goes for Robert Beltran. He's a very old man right now. So they aged out, right? They can't really bouncing around the thing. But for legacy characters and what they do with that, I thought this was really, really well done. And it was just solid stuff overall. It's not just Star Trek for kids. It's just good Star Trek, period. This was just really fantastic. Loved it.
Right, so yeah, what would you rate this season though?
Yeah, like a 9 out of 10. This was good though, perfect.
Wow,
like
okay.
very little of it I had issues with. Like it just kept itself. It kept my attention. It balanced serialized storytelling with episodic storytelling really well. They just did a good job with all these side things. Everything served a purpose, a higher goal. They really took all the best of why Trek works and put it into one place. And it's just good students of Star Trek in terms of understanding how to tell the stories. And whoever, all these people, as I say, someone cooked here. Whoever in charge of it, they had to get them the reins later down for the material, man. It's really, really fantastic stuff.